Good morning, everyone. My name is Mayor Sean Patterson-Howard, City of Mount Vernon. We are here today because Mount Vernon is bracing for the second wave of COVID-19. But instead of being able to really focus on protecting our community and ensuring our financial stability because of businesses being open and taxes being collected, we're dealing with our controller, Deborah Reynolds. COVID is not our biggest threat right now. Our biggest threat to the immediate future of Mount Vernon is our controller. With cases surging in Westchester and people's lives and livelihoods on the line, the controller's constant refusal to do her job and release more than $13 million in funding to multiple agencies has become a matter of life and death. Both my administration and the City Council have tried to be patient. We've tried negotiating. When she spurned our attempts at cooperation, we called on the State Controller's Office to review her conduct. We've exhausted every measure internally to try and protect the residents of Mount Vernon. We've requested an audit from the New York State Controller, and months later, after they've given the recommendations, Controller Reynolds has failed to cooperate and respond to any of the recommendations. The urgency of this moment has compelled us to speak. We haven't been able to access money from our 39 bank accounts. We only have the ability to even view one of them. It's very difficult operating a community blindly without being able to see your financial operations. Currently, the Mayor's Office, the City Council, nor not one of 20 of our departments has access to Munis, which is for other people the equivalent of government QuickBooks, so that we can see revenues coming in and how bills are being paid and tracked, and so that we can properly process invoices and different orders that are going out. We do not have access to that. Controller Reynolds went to a cloud system in December of 2019 and built a firewall that was illegally installed and contracted to do businesses illegally, cutting off the City Council, cutting off the office of the mayor, and cutting off the entire Mount Vernon government from having access to financial records. My question is, why would a controller who says that she believes in fiscal responsibility cut off everyone in the city government from being able to access what should be public records? These records are critical to the day-to-day operation of our city. It's equivalent to you having to run your business or your household without having any records to your bank accounts, being able to see them. We're not looking to cut the checks, but we have to know what is in our bank accounts, and we have to have the ability to see how vouchers and payments to vendors are being processed, or more so not processed. Our city is hurting. $13 million is currently being held by Controller Reynolds, and about $4.3 million are COVID funds, which we've been given over the past few months for eviction prevention, small business support, homeless outreach, and food security. Our community is also hungry. The situation is dire. If Controller Reynolds doesn't release those funds, Mount Vernon will be forced to make up to a 25% cut across the board in our staffing here in the city of Mount Vernon. Now, that includes everything. Police, fire, DPW, those are all critical and essential services that can be prevented if the controller would just step back and work with the city government so that we can have a better understanding of where our city is financially. The other thing that we can do, which is what we don't want to do, is raise taxes by 10 to 15%. That is unconscionable at a time when everyone in our community and across the country are dealing with reduced income. How would we expect our homeowners and our citizens to bear the burden of a 10 to 15% increase in taxes? We cannot be forced into that option. Give me just a second because there's a lot to talk about. In the beginning of the year, when I took office, and even before I took office, I sat with Comptroller Reynolds, and we went through not only one, but 2, 3, 4, 5 versions of the budget together. And after she couldn't get her way, she stopped, and we had to create versions 6 and 7 by ourselves. Comptroller Reynolds always says that we didn't work on the budget together. But here, in this budget, these blue stickies are her personal handwriting, approving and suggesting and working with us around codes to fund different positions that were critically needed in the city of Mount Vernon. One of the other things that Comptroller Reynolds talks about is that she cannot work with us around the Urban Renewal Agency because we have not done our audits and we have not complied with giving her information. She asked us back in March to submit to an audit. She gave us 10 days to complete that audit, but within 3 days, we gave her hundreds of pages of documentation about every financial transaction that had happened in the Urban Renewal Agency in the year 2016. We met her reply. She says that the Urban Renewal Agency 2016 audit was not complete. The Urban Renewal Agency 2016 audit has been complete. But more importantly, on January 17th, just a day after not getting her way, when she asked me to sign checks for illegally secured contracts that she signed off on to build a firewall and to take away our access to the city's financial system, she sent a letter to HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development, to Vincent Hom, who's the regional administrator, directing him to no longer send critical federal funds to the city of Mount Vernon. This is her letter. Right now, we have over $8.1 million sitting in our federal HUD account. This money can be used, again, for street light repair, $1 million. Parks and playgrounds, $650,000. $1.3 million to help us purchase critically needed ambulances. $1,349,000 for an aerial fire truck. $1 million for homeless outreach and eviction prevention funds. There's monies in here also for college scholarships, domestic violence support, job training, reentry services, and youth services and youth programs that the Comptroller is holding up. We're not speaking about anything that we can't prove, and that's why I have documentation. We received letters back in February from HUD as they were very confused as to why, for over a year, the Comptroller has returned millions of dollars of money sent from the federal government. Now, these might be grants, but be very clear. These grants are based on the money and the federal taxes that we pay to the federal government, and these are some of the ways that this money comes back into our community. So right now, there is over $9.5 million of HUD funds being held up by our Comptroller. Some of these also go to pay rent for over 60 families who are suffering with mental health, substance use, HIV/AIDS, or who are veterans here in the city of Mount Vernon. We have Amy Gellis from the Guidance Center, who is one of our partners, who will speak about this further. But because of the Comptroller's refusal to accept and process HUD funding, and because she sends back federal funding at a time when our community and our people need these supports more than ever, it is unconscionable, it is malfeasance, and it should be criminal. Let me just say this. Either our Comptroller is not just unwilling, or she is incapable of doing her job. And I think that the second is more of the larger picture. She is incapable or unwilling to process property tax transfer monies. Property tax transfer monies are critical, and Mr. Hollingsworth will speak about that a little bit later, because if you want to buy a house or sell a house or refinance your property, You cannot do it without property tax transfers being processed. There are currently over 50 title agencies in the state of New York that work with cities to process sales and refinancing of homes. And there are only 2 who are still willing to do business in the city of Mount Vernon. We know that over the next 12 months, especially with COVID and people wanting to move out to the suburbs, our housing market is booming. And we stand to lose $143 million in home sales. Now, the property tax transfer money that we will get from this as Mount Vernon's share is $1.43 million. That's revenue lost that can go to take care of essential city services. But what most importantly will be lost is the opportunities for families to move into our community, opportunities for families to sell their houses, and for the many families who want to take advantage of low interest rates right now, they won't be able to refinance their homes. Where is that fiscally responsible, and how is that putting our residents first? It doesn't do it. One of the biggest complaints that we get from people in our community is that our roads are in bad condition. That as they drive throughout the community and the city, that they're hitting pothole after pothole after pothole after pothole. Well, one of the reasons that that is happening is because we have $2.7 million in CHIPS funding sitting in the New York State Department of Transportation. And because of Comptroller Reynolds' failure to pay a 2018 paving bill to PCI of $380,000, we cannot access and draw down $2.7 million in funds that have been granted to the city of Mount Vernon. In 2016, before she became comptroller, we were able to spend our money. In 2017, before she became comptroller, we were able to spend our money. But since then, we've amassed $2.7 million in this account. We receive close to $900,000 annually. And so for 3 years, we have not been able to draw down monies to pave the streets in Mount Vernon. Again, this is free money. Winter is coming, is it not? And winter is coming, and when winter is coming, we know that we want to make sure that we are prepared to properly plow our streets. And we have transferred and requested to transfer monies and savings that we've had because we have not hired over 20 people in our DPW department this year. She is refusing to execute contracts and pay for us to be able to purchase critical and much needed snow equipment. Refusing. Here is the documentation. Again, I said part of the monies that we have available in our federal CDBG account is for an aerial fire truck. And our Commissioner Norman will speak about it a little bit more later on, but $1.349 million in money that would come to the city of Mount Vernon for free to purchase a critically needed aerial truck is being held up by our comptroller right now. This is a potential 3% increase on the taxes. This truck has been ready since September 2nd for delivery, and it is sitting waiting to be picked up. But we cannot pick it up because the comptroller has failed to pay for this truck. This is documentation. She says that she knows nothing about this truck, that no one's communicated with her about the purchase of this truck. These are emails going back to August 24th, showing that we have communicated with her over and over and over again about the urgency for this truck to come in Mount Vernon. We have been borrowing an aerial fire ladder from New York City for the past 3 months. And that aerial fire truck came in handy because it came to Mount Vernon and we were finally able to put it in service on a Tuesday night, and on a Wednesday night, the McDonald's at the corner of Prospect Avenue and Gramerton Avenue set on fire. And it was that New York City aerial fire ladder that was the first to the scene that allowed the fire department to knock that down quickly. If not, we would have lost an entire city block because we would have not have had equipment in place because our controller refuses to work with us. It is budget season. We've been asking since September to sit down with our controller and get information on the revenues, the expenses, the shortfalls in revenues that we've experienced in 2022 to COVID, to be able to talk about some of the expense savings and what we might need to do to plan for 2021. She has refused it. State audit. The controller says over and over again that the Mount Vernon city government has lost revenues and property taxes. Well, I don't understand then why she has not accepted $482,000 in tax payments from the city school district. These are just some of the emails that we have received from constituents saying that they've been trying to pay their property taxes for months. And when she finally allows them to pay their property taxes, she's charging them interest rates for her failure to collect them. More violations. Board of Ethics violations, because she's doing illegal hiring in her department, but will not allow other departments to legally hire. 43, is this letter 43, I believe? Letter 43 from our Civil Service Division informing her that she's hired people illegally. She continues to illegally make wire transfers to pay her personal vendors, her personal attorneys, but she will not pay the attorneys that are representing the city of Mount Vernon. She will not pay bills to vendors, and you'll hear more about that. We don't even have the ability to send out mail from the city of Mount Vernon because she has failed to pay the postage machine. So I'm going to step back because there are a few people here who can elaborate a little bit more on some of the challenges that we're having. I'm going to call on our councilman, our Vice President Marcus Griffith and Derek Thompson to come forward. Then we'll call on our Commissioner of Police, Glenn Scott, to speak about the challenges we're having in the police department. We'll call on our Commissioner Norman and our Chief Odendo to discuss what's happening in the fire department. We will call on Jen Mastria-Giorgio, who is working as the financial manager in our DPW department, to talk about unpaid bills there. And we'll also call on our partners Amy Gellis and Ray Hollingsworth to talk about how, as vendors and business people in the community, they are suffering. And our Apostle Rose, who is also coming, he is a vendor who has been having challenges being paid. But if we could just make a quick reversal and bring forward our Mary Kingsley and Ray Hollingsworth first. I just want to bring them forward first so that they can get in and get out as they need to. Thank you.
My name is Ray Hollingsworth, Baloo, broker owner of Hollingsworth Real Estate Group. We've been receiving reports from realtor and title communities all over Mount Vernon that they are not able to get title closed with the city of Mount Vernon. As the mayor said, there are about 50 title companies, and out of the 50, about 1 or 2 are left that are willing to insure title. If you buy a house in Mount Vernon, you're probably going to get a mortgage. In order to get a mortgage, the title company has to insure the transaction. If that doesn't happen, you cannot get a mortgage and they will not close. So therefore, if the last 1 or 2 remaining title companies decide to stop working with the city of Mount Vernon, in the next 12 months, about $143 million of properties will not close. Single-family houses, multifamily houses, condominiums, vacant land. That will mean that the city will not collect the revenue, transfer tax from that property. That will also mean that the value of everybody's home will start to drop in the city of Mount Vernon because everybody knows if you can't sell the house, nobody will buy the house. So right now, the prices have been going up. The average price for a house in Mount Vernon is about $465,000 for a single family house. That's been going up steadily with the economy. If nobody's able to close a transaction in Mount Vernon, that will drop considerably. So if you've had a family that's been paying a mortgage for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and hoping that you sell your house and be able to move on to the next part of your life, that will get destroyed if this is not resolved.
I received 2 phone calls this morning from Mount Vernon residents who were unable to complete refinancing their houses because they couldn't obtain title insurance. Even cash buyers want to have title insurance. But this is really a very critical item for those who wish to have anything to do with real estate in our city. I attempted to reach out to the controller's office and ask about it, and was unable to complete a phone call or find an email address or leave a voice message. So I have no response from her on why this is happening or how we can address it.
Thank you. We're going to call on Ms. Gellis.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Gellis. I am the CEO of the Guidance Center of Westchester, a major provider of services to help support the residents of Mount Vernon and Westchester County. For the last 5.5 years, we've had a contract with the city of Mount Vernon to provide housing for those people in this community who have mental health or substance use issues and have been formerly homeless. We have lived up to every expectation that there was in those contracts to find homes, to help pay rent, and to help stabilize people in their apartments by providing case management. We have done all of that, especially in the last months during COVID. It was so important to us that nobody be evicted. It's been so important to us that all of these people who've made such gains in their lives remain stable in their housing. However, we have had to do this at our own expense. We did not receive payments as per our contract for over 1 year. That left us with over $250,000 owed to us by the city of Mount Vernon to pay rent for these apartments and to keep people stable and healthy. Last year, we provided a training program for Mount Vernon residents in construction training and security training. We are still owed over $50,000. Everyone completed that training. We helped people find jobs. Again, we did everything that was required of us. We've gone above by putting out our own money, which we really don't have and has been a tremendous financial cost to us. Because no matter what we do, reach out to the controller, again, with voicemail, email, which is impossible, or letters, there is absolutely no response. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Arthur Rose. I'm the CEO of the Family Restoration Project of Upon This Rock Ministries here in Mount Vernon. Our organization has been entrusted by the administration of this wonderful city by way of CDB grants for the past 2 years to reduce recidivism and to increase public safety within the city. We have not been reimbursed for our efforts close to 11 months right now. Last year, when we were being reimbursed to a certain extent, public safety in Mount Vernon was at ease. I believe this year we're almost in double digits, if not have passed double digits, in murders in this city, which most of them could have been avoided if we had received our funding from the finance department. It is very disturbing and distressful in regard to the young men and young women that are returning citizens here in the city that are not receiving the proper service of case management and mentoring. We need the funding desperately so that we can reduce crime, reduce recidivism, increase public safety, and stop the murders that are happening in this city.
Hello, I'm Marcus Griffith. I'm the City Council President Pro Tem. I'm joined today by Councilman Dirk Thompson and Councilwoman Janice Duarte. I want to be very clear to the Mount Vernon community that the council stands behind the mayor and all of the excellent efforts she has made to reconcile any differences we have with the controller's office. I think the mayor did a wonderful job explaining in detail every level of complication that we've had financially with the city. I also want to make it clear to the residents of Mount Vernon that we are saying publicly that the mayor has an issue with not having any financial information to move the city forward. The city council has difficulty with getting financial information to move the city forward. But that's not my biggest fear or the council's biggest fear. The biggest fear is that I believe, or we believe, that the controller also does not have the understanding of the financials that are going on within the city. So we have reached out to every level that we could to try to remedy this. We've asked for assistance from every level possible. We are at wit's end. So we're making it public. We want everybody to know that we are reaching out for any type of assistance or any type of level of appreciation that we've had. What we've done is we've passed legislation to ask the controller or to compel the controller to give us certain pieces of information. She has failed to do so. So again, I'm going to say that the city council is working with the mayor's office to reconcile any differences that we have financially so that we can move this city forward. Budget season is here, and we have not handled any real financials for the budget of 2021. This is a critical issue for our city. I'm not sure if the other council members want to speak or if the mayor will allow, but the city council is joining with the mayor in this disagreement that we have with our controller. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilman Thompson. And all has already been said. You know the problems we have in our city working with our comptroller. I've been personally, since I came into office in January, I've been putting out emails as well as personal visits to the comptroller to try to meet with her regarding our finances. And this has been going on since February. We're now in November, and I haven't had a meeting yet regarding the state of our finances. This is unacceptable. As elected officials, we agree to do the best we can for the city we serve. And her negligence should be not tolerated. We can't go any further with this, and we must get some resolve. So that's all.
Good afternoon. I'm Police Commissioner Glenn Scott, and the mayor asked me to speak today on some comptroller issues. I want to let the city know that last night you almost lost your 911 system. There would have been no ability for anybody to get services in this city because we have not had a maintenance contract paid for any of our facility needs that we have over there. Our record management system, police computers, also almost failed last night. We have an uninterrupted power supply. The batteries are shot in that, and we have no way of getting any monies to repair it. That's what keeps the computer and 911 systems operating when we have a power outage. Last night, the entire city would have been shut down. We have 666 funds, which are funds that we get from other agencies for investigative purposes. These funds total $174,000 at this moment. This is what we use to go after the murderers in the city. This is what we use to send our investigators out. This is what we use to get our easy passes. This is what we use to get our surveillance equipment. We have not been allowed to touch those funds this year. The mayor said, pull out your little folder. And I brought, we have a Microsoft 365 email and office system that hasn't been paid for. As I said, the backup generators have fallen and failing. The police security gates to secure the police headquarters are broken. Our security cameras for the police department are broken. Our security cameras throughout the system in the city are broken. We are rejected in getting cars because no vendor will let us purchase a car because we never pay them. We are currently working with one ESU truck, one emergency service truck that runs 24/7 because the other truck is repaired, but the vendors haven't gotten payment for it, so they're not releasing it. Body cameras. Everybody's asking about body cameras. Well, we can't purchase any, and we can't match the grants because the comptroller is holding up our funding. All of the department attorneys, our 207 attorney, our labor attorney, which helps us draft charges when we're trying to get rid of bad cops, have not been paid and will not cooperate with us. That's also how we do our police reform, because anytime we do a policy and procedure, we run it through the labor attorneys. So there goes your police reform for this year. Yesterday, we collected $5,000 in fees. We went to bring it to the comptroller's office like we always do, and she refused to take it. And now it's sitting back in a safe. The PBA drafted a letter. Delayed raises, no retro when they do get raises. Delayed promotional pay raises, delayed sick checks, delayed uniform checks, delayed longevity checks. We had a class of recruits that went a month and a half without getting a paycheck. And they paid to go to the police academy out of basically their pockets, buying their own uniforms and everything without a paycheck. When we got our W-2s, they were open. Everybody could see the social security numbers and everything. This is a lack of responsibility. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 technology companies that we use. Over $300,000 has not been paid in maintenance fees. I have here the vendors, approximately 130 vendors that have not been paid. We called every one of these vendors and checked, and they have not received the payment this year. This totals $851,000 in unpaid bills for the police department. So we can't do investigations. We can't even get an easy pass. We can't purchase cars. We have a mechanic that takes 2 or 3 cars and puts them together to make one. We have something we call a detail car. You know what our detail car is? That's the one that responds to filming and Kanye repairs. That car can't go over 20 miles an hour. So we have to use detail cars because we don't have enough cars to even respond to jobs properly. Like I said, your 911 system is almost out. I hope it stays up tonight.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Odindo. I'm the Chief of the Mount Vernon Fire Department. I want to talk about 4 issues that are affecting our fire department at this time, directly tied to the Controller's office. We struggled with the Controller almost 2 years just trying to have people or recruits hired into our organization. After we were able to finally get them hired and get them into the academy, which we did this year after some allegations of unethical hiring practice levied by our office against the fire department, which turned out not to be valid. Our probationary firefighters finally entered the academy, and I've just received word as of last week with their 10 weeks in the academy that there is an opportunity for them to be removed because our tuition fee for the academy has not been paid by the comptroller. $35,000, which we know we have in our budget, has not been paid. And these members, which are severely needed for the continuity of our work in the city, may be asked to leave the academy for non-payment. As the mayor spoke about, we have an aerial truck. We're borrowing an aerial truck rather from FD&Y. They've been very generous and very courteous in allowing us to use their equipment. But it makes no sense, and makes no reasonable sense why we're using and borrowing equipment when we have a truck, an aerial ladder, that is prepared for Mount Vernon, prepared to be delivered to Mount Vernon, sitting in a warehouse, waiting for delivery, but unable to have that delivery happen because of lack of payment. As the mayor already explained to the citizens and to the audience, this aerial truck comes at no fee and no impact to the citizens of Mount Vernon. It is totally grant funded. We have contractual agreements, contractual steps. We have firefighters and dispatchers that are owed contractual monies that they've already agreed to. The city's already agreed to pay these people raises, unable to get those raises to these people. They come to work every day. They work very hard for the city of Mount Vernon, and for no reason they are unable to get their pay given to them. Again, identified as an issue with the comptroller and her ineptness and her lack of even concern for the basic needs of the workers of the city of Mount Vernon. Lastly, and as the Commissioner of Police already mentioned, we have untold bills and invoices open around equipment purchases, around repairs to equipment, around repairs to firehouses. We're going into the winter season and we have firehouses that would not pass even the most liberal of fire inspections. But for the fact that we cannot pay for or pay our vendors to come in and repair them, we have our firefighters that will be working in a firehouse that possibly may not have heat, may not have proper running water. But then we expect these members to go out and protect the citizens of Mount Vernon. We just want to make everyone very clear that we are doing everything and we will continue to do everything as workers and the employees of the city of Mount Vernon, and then specifically as the fire department of Mount Vernon, to protect the citizens of Mount Vernon, protect our workers and our members of our organization. But it is becoming more and more difficult to continue to function under this level of dysfunction. And we've asked to the controller if she can please help us and work with us. We're willing to partner with her, but at this point, it seems as if very little compromise on our end.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Norman. I'm the fire commissioner. I don't want to repeat the same things, but yes, we do have right now a brand new fire lot truck for $1.3 million that is just sitting, waiting to come to the city. We've asked New York City, thank God FDNY has loaned us their ladder truck. Everyone knows we have a lot of fires in Mount Vernon. It's unthinkable that we cannot get this fire truck, it's not here. But at the same time, this happened last October, November, December. The city did get 2 brand new fire engines and a brand new rescue that you see outside moving around right now. The controller did almost the same thing. To me, it is playing political games, but you're playing it with emergency services. The fire department needs this equipment. This was at no cost to the taxpayers. So why isn't somebody just helping to make that happen? That's the big question that should be on people's minds. The city of Mount Vernon, 2 brand new engines, a brand new rescue, a brand new fire ladder truck that is not costing 1 penny to the taxpayers, but it is something that we desperately need for the firefighters to come save your life, save your property, and someone won't come and help. You don't have to like the fire commissioner, it's not about me. I don't come to your house. You don't have to like the mayor or the chief. It's fire department, it's emergency services. Why would you not sit down and work with people to get that? So I'm gonna move from that. Empress, you hear right now, you hear Empress? Everybody's seeing Empress ambulance out there? How would you like to not get paid for 10 months? 10 months, they're not paid. There's new rules, there's new games. Every time you have an appointment and go there, and that's what I'm gonna say. An elected official, brand new, has a right to make different policies. I get that. I'm a commissioner, I get that. Give me the policy in writing. Don't have me come with appointments and go, oh no, you need this. No, you need that. But you won't give me an appointment. You won't answer my email, and you have your staff who's worked with me for years. Very respectful, all of a sudden now, not good morning, do you have an appointment? So, yeah, I'm emotional about this because That's disrespectful. I'm not in there to ask you about your kids. I'm in there to take care of business. If there's some paperwork wrong in the bill, let's sit down and talk about it. But would you not pay the bills? Would you lie to the vendors? Ambulance. Now, if tonight they wanted to say we're gonna pull those ambulance, they would be within their right, wouldn't they? So yes, I'm upset about this because it's something we could prevent. We could work together. Now I'm gonna tell you revenue, money. A controller is supposed to help manage the money. Checks. The fire department, like the buildings department, they can speak for themselves too, but we all get fees, revenue. Every month we turn it in by appointment. All of a sudden, in the month of August, they tried to give me an envelope like this, slip it to me and say, the controller says these are old. I looked at it, I saw these were checks from December, I did not take them. No signature, no reason, they're old. Why did you keep those checks? I wouldn't take it. So you know what the controller's office does? Mails them to the city, which I turned into the law department. The point is, these are ridiculous games that we should work together. There's COVID, not just in Mount Vernon. Listen, a world crisis. Who would not come together as elected persons to help people? I had 26 firefighters out at one time for COVID. Either they were positive or quarantined. Several in the hospital. I have a member in the hospital now. You don't even have the elected official who should help me ask about these people. I'm not here because the mayor said, Commissioner Norman, go bash somebody. I was here before the mayor became the mayor. You all know that. Under several administrations. It's about the city, the taxpayers, and right now my job is to make sure our firefighters have what they need to save their lives, to save your lives. So I'm not going all in order. I'm just telling you, I passionately ask people, even the controller, I will work with anybody to get the job done. She has me sign every invoice, 10 months late, 8 months, I sign it. I'll sign what you want to get my vendors paid. I'll sign what you want to get my firefighters what they need. Thank you.
I'm going to touch on the emotional side of this situation as well as state some facts. My name is Jennifer Mastrogiorgio and I began working for the Controller's Office in the city of Mount Vernon in 2014 under our previous controller. As accounts payable, it was my responsibility to cut checks and remit payments. I worked in a well-functioning and pleasant office. I liked my job and I was pretty good at it. I enjoyed coming to work. In January 2018, that all started to change. Our office had a new boss and the city a new controller. Mrs. Reynolds came in with a smile, but quickly began to show signs of distrust towards her staff. I watched 3 hardworking and intelligent coworkers get fired with no explanations. One was fired via text message, and another just days before she was due to return to the office from maternity leave. The office environment was tense and uncomfortable, and it wasn't long before Mrs. Reynolds made it clear that no information was to leave her office without her authorization. And I don't mean confidential information. I'm talking about information that taxpayers and city employees are entitled to receive. In the past, I was able to freely speak with vendors, city commissioners, and employees from other departments. This was no longer permitted, and I began to dread coming to work, fearing that one day I too would be wrongfully terminated. In May of 2018, I learned that a related position in the Department of Public Works became available, and I was eager to transfer. The Commissioner of DPW at that time suggested the idea of having me fill the position. I was an ideal candidate because of my prior knowledge and familiarity with the payment process. We proposed the idea of my transfer to Controller Reynolds and spoke about it several times. After she wished me the best and stated she had no objections, I transferred to the Department of Public Works. The transition was not as smooth as it should have been. Controller Reynolds accused me of abandoning my previous position, stating that I just stopped coming to work one day, and I did not receive a paycheck for the first month in my new role. Controller Reynolds has made my job nearly impossible. Does not provide monthly expense reports, and she does not provide monthly expense reports to track what has or hasn't been paid. giving details of how much money is still available on each budget line. And in over 2 years that I've worked in DPW, I have received only one detailed expense report, and that was back in October of 2018. In July of 2018, Controller Reynolds stopped acknowledging our electronic purchase orders. She did not notify anyone, so my department continued entering our orders. Funds from our budget were being set aside and therefore no longer available to us. DPW ended 2018 with over $400,000 in unpaid invoices. After numerous requests for her to approve those allocated purchase orders, the controller advised our department to submit invoices on a paper check request form known as vouchers. After complying with her request, we realized she was then paying the invoices without canceling out our electronic orders. In essence, taking the money from our budget twice. Imagine if your mortgage or rent check was cashed twice, every month, and you couldn't get a refund. This quickly depleted our budget, leaving us with hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid invoices from various vendors, many who have since sued the city, causing taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees in addition to the original debt. That total has recently reached an estimated $2.5 million of unpaid invoices. The general public has no idea what we're up against. Controller Reynolds' failure or inability to do the job she was elected to do has severely damaged the city's reputation in the business and government community. Local and national vendors refuse to work with us. The city has lost its credit rating, and taxpayers are led to believe that we're just not doing our jobs. They see that their garbage isn't picked up on time or that their street may not be cleaned or plowed immediately, but they don't realize that our fleet of trucks are very old and severely dilapidated. They don't know that our mechanics don't have the tools, supplies, and materials, and are working in a facility that has no heat or roof that is so warm that it rains inside almost as much as conditions that we are budgeted for. I have witnessed employees go into their own pockets to purchase materials to perform their job duties. I've done it myself. DPW overtime has not been paid in months, severely affecting the morale and willingness to continue to work for free, courtesy of Controller Reynolds. I, like many others in my department and throughout the city, have not been paid my correct salary this entire year. I grew up in Mount Vernon. My family's lived here for over 100 years and has been serving this great city for over 60 years. I love this city, and I'm tired of the bad rap that we are earning as a result of Controller Reynolds' actions. I'm in no way a politician, and my concerns are not politically motivated. I'm not benefiting any way by speaking here today. I'm just a civil servant who can see the difference between right and wrong. And the way that Controller Reynolds chooses to conduct business on behalf of the city is wrong. I work with so many wonderful people who truly want the best for this city, but we are all tired. We feel defeated, and we are losing hope. Any great idea that we have that will benefit the city comes to a halt when we crash into the roadblock known as Controller Reynolds.
Not now, and especially in the midst of the COVID-19 epidemic. The stakes are just too high. If you have any questions, I'll answer them at this time.
I just have one. Is that your only recourse to go to the Attorney General and the Comptroller?
We have things in the charter that says we can, if she doesn't follow certain things, we can arrest her, but that's not going to work. It's equivalent to a fine. So we're not looking to continue the circus that has been Mount Vernon city government for far too long and start arresting other elected officials. So we are working, and we will call on our state controller to maybe even take over the finances of the city of Mount Vernon, or work with Attorney General James to investigate further and see what's going on. There's no excuse for not paying bills, and there is no excuse for not allowing anyone to have access to the city's financials. My question is, what are you doing with the city of Mount Vernon's money? Is any of this money being redirected for personal use? And it's very difficult to find that out and make sure that the taxpayers' money is being spent on what it's supposed to be spent on when the only person who has access to records is Controller Reynolds. Any other questions? Thank you so much.